It's that time of year. It's ranking season. The draft is over, which means everyone's coming out with their quarterback tiers, their quarterback rankings. Kyle Brandt of NFL Network is no different. He has released his AFC and NFC quarterback tiers. And in this video, I'm going to react to his tiers for each conference at the quarterback position and let you know if I agree, if I think they suck, if I think they're accurate. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. Do you agree with Kyle, or do you think Kyle is a little off base? Let me know in the comment section below, and let's get right into it with the NFC. So in tier number 1, Kyle has by himself Jalen Hurts, which I don't know if I can disagree much with that. Jalen Hurts has earned that contract through his work ethic, his leadership, and he has led the way for the Philadelphia Eagles, leading them to the Super Bowl. In my opinion, the best player in that Super Bowl, can beat you with his arm, can beat you with his legs. He's a real threat to run the football, which opens up everything down the field for his offense. This guy is the real deal, and he continues to get better as a passer, as an accurate quarterback from the pocket. So Jalen Hurts, to me, is the number 1 guy in the NFC. I do not disagree. Tier number 2 is kind of interesting. He has Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, and Matthew Stafford. The one guy that I would say, obviously Matthew Stafford won a Super Bowl with the Rams in 2021, was phenomenal, one of the best quarterbacks in the league that year. And at his peak, I would say he's the best out of these 3 players. But the problem with Matthew Stafford is the injuries moving forward. I'm not sure if his body can hold up. That is something that I may actually hold more value in this conversation. I'm not sure if Kyle's really thinking about that, but to me, the injury thing is a real thing for Matthew Stafford moving forward at this point in his career. Kirk Cousins, to me, was the best quarterback out of these 3 last season, really winning a ton of games for the Vikings in the fourth quarter. 8 game-winning drives and comebacks. I think Kirk Cousins is disrespected for absolutely no reason. Dak Prescott, pretty much the same player as Cousins in terms of statistical consistency, winning some games, but maybe not getting to that next level. Dak Prescott had a bit of a down year last year. There's no way around it. Led the NFL in interceptions, didn't even play the entire season, but I expect to bounce back, and he's been overall consistent. When you look at the NFC, he certainly deserves to be up there in that top 5. So I don't disagree with tier 2 very much. Tier number 3, you got Jared Goff, you got Geno Smith, and you also have Derek Carr, which is very interesting. I did not think Derek Carr was very good last year. I did not think Derek Carr was a top 20 quarterback in the NFL last year. I'm just going to be point blank, just honest, okay? Derek Carr was not very good last season. He made too many critical errors, seemed to miss too many throws in big moments and big spots, and really just didn't mesh with the McDaniel scheme. Now, if you're willing to say, well, he's in a new location, a more familiar scheme and system, he's going to get back to how he played in 2021 and 2020, then I would say, sure, he definitely belongs to be here. But I think based on last year, Geno Smith and Jared Goff were much better quarterbacks than Derek Carr. And I don't even think that's a conversation. Now, if Kyle's saying that Carr has more consistency and longevity throughout his career of playing at a high level, then I would certainly agree. But Jared Goff and Geno Smith, don't underestimate what they did last year and what they will be able to do this year. I think both players are set up to have a better year than Derek Carr, even going into 2023. So I kind of disagree with tier number 3. Then we look at tier number 4, where I start to have a lot of problems, because this is a mix of a lot of guys that I just don't feel are at the same level, or they're all over the map, or they're inconsistent, which is maybe where Kyle is kind of pointing out that that's why they're in the same tier. But Daniel Jones was a better quarterback than Justin Fields last year, and it's not even a conversation. Like, it's not even close. I don't understand the Justin Fields thing, and maybe that's the problem for me with these tiers right now. Justin Fields does not deserve to be in tier number 4. What makes him deserving of this? Certainly not any wins that he has brought to the table. Certainly not the fumbles that he constantly gives up to the other team. Certainly not the fourth quarter performances. Certainly not the whole fact that his team won't even throw the football when they're trailing in games because they don't trust him to throw the football, and certainly not the sacks that he takes. So I just don't understand the Justin Fields hype. Like, I get the guy is a highlight reel in terms of running the football, but in terms of being a quarterback who actually produces and actually wins football games, he doesn't deserve to be in the same class as Daniel Jones or Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray obviously has dealt with some injuries. The guy is extremely talented, and he has done things in his career. He did lead the Cardinals to the playoffs a couple seasons ago. He's dealt with, to me, kind of an below average coach, below average system, not a great roster overall. He's making too much money, but you got to separate the contract from the talent. I think Kyler is maybe better than he's given credit for at this point. I would say that Kyler is closer to that tier above than maybe this tier along with Justin Fields. And certainly the way Daniel Jones played last year, he was closer to a Geno Smith or Jared Goff than he was to a Justin Fields. I just have an issue with Justin Fields being included with Daniel Jones and Kyler Murray, period. In tier number 5, this one's also an issue for me. Baker Mayfield alongside Brock Purdy. Some may argue that Brock Purdy hasn't proven enough, and some may argue that Baker Mayfield has proven some, but also been extremely inconsistent. And there's going to be Bucs fans that get at me for this take, but I don't see how Baker Mayfield, you would want him to start a team over Brock Purdy. Like, sure, give both of them Kyle Shanahan, I'm still taking Brock Purdy. Like, Brock Purdy, a better decision maker. Brock Purdy, more accurate passer to me. Brock Purdy, more mobile in the pockets, got quicker feet, got good feel. And that's the thing for me with Brock Purdy. He's just got the feel for the game that you can't teach. And that's been a big problem for me with Baker Mayfield. Too many erratic decisions, takes too many weird sacks, does not have a good feel for 2-minute situations, kind of erratic in terms of accuracy. The arm strength is there, the leadership is there, but the on-field product is extremely inconsistent. I don't think Baker Mayfield deserves to be in these top 5 tiers. I get it if you're just basing it off what he's done, but I don't think what we've seen from Baker Mayfield warrants him ranking this high. And then you finish off with tier number 6 and tier number 7. First of all, no matter what I think of Bryce Young versus CJ Stroud and who should have went first and who shouldn't have went first, if the quarterback's the number 1 pick, I understand he's a rookie. How can you say Sam Howell and Desmond Ridder, guys that were picked, the 3rd, 2nd round to the 5th round range? How are these guys going to be ahead of Bryce Young? I don't even care that Bryce Young has not played a snap. I'm still ranking Bryce Young above Sam Howell and Desmond Ridder. It's not like we've seen Desmond Ridder or Sam Howell do anything at all in the NFL to warrant being above Bryce Young, who, by all accounts, is a smarter football player and a more talented football player than both of these guys. I can maybe understand Jordan Love because he was also a 1st-round pick, and now he has years of experience backing up a legendary quarterback where maybe he has an edge over a Bryce Young. I can get the Jordan Love one. I'd even maybe put Jordan Love and Bryce Young in the same tier, and then Desmond Ridder and Sam Howell in the bottom tier, and that's how I would probably rank it. Let me know what you think of Kyle Brandt's NFC tiers in the comments section below. Those are my thoughts on where I felt Kyle was accurate and where I felt Kyle was maybe a little bit off. When it comes to the AFC, Kyle had a much more difficult task having to tier these quarterbacks. There's so much more talent, so much more depth at the quarterback position in the AFC, and it's hard to differentiate one quarterback from the next because they're all so talented. But his tiers begin with tier number 1 being just Patrick Mahomes, which might be accurate, might not be accurate. I would agree that Patrick Mahomes, just simply based on accomplishments, is tier number 1 by himself. Accomplishments and play in 2023. That is accurate. Patrick Mahomes by himself. I think if you're projecting forward into their careers, Mahomes being alongside Joe Burrow and Josh Allen, I think is also fair, but it depends on what take you have. Like, Mahomes deserves to be that top dog without a doubt, and there's no real argument against it. All I'm saying is Allen and Burrow are fairly similarly talented and probably will see a lot of team success, just as Mahomes will, into the future. It depends how you look at it. But Patrick Mahomes, to me, is the number one guy and deserves to be the number one tier. Not going to disagree with Kyle. Then we look at tier number 2, which is Burrow and Allen. Again, I agree, can't disagree. And I feel like pretty much the difference between Mahomes and Allen and Burrow is the fact that Mahomes has a couple rings and these guys don't. And that's really it. Because when you look at it and you watch them play on Sundays, all three of these guys are extremely talented in their own ways. Josh Allen is a freak and a monster with a cannon. And then Joe Burrow is extremely cerebral, very smart, and super accurate. Maybe the most accurate passer in football. So I agree with the top 3, and I agree with the tier separation there between Mahomes and then Burrow and Allen. And then we get to tier number 3, which I also think is accurate. I agree. Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert. I think that some Lamar fans might be a little bit upset that Lamar isn't a tier higher, because I think you could argue that Lamar Jackson has the accomplishments and the youth, unlike Aaron Rodgers as of late, to argue that he's in the Allen and Burrow tier. The win percentage being the second best behind Patrick Mahomes, the MVP that Burrow or Allen does not have, Lamar Jackson has, and now he has the contract, right? So Lamar Jackson is a special player, and he changes how you have to play the Baltimore Ravens when he's at quarterback, and he wins a lot of games, period. Aaron Rodgers, you could also argue that maybe last year was just a down year for him, and he could be right back into tier number 2 or maybe even tier number 1, because in 2021 and 2020, he was a tier 1 quarterback along with Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. Like, you could certainly argue that Aaron Rodgers was right there due to the fact that he won the MVP awards, but Rodgers is getting older, and I certainly agree that he has declined slightly, especially after last year where he was not at his best. Just felt a little conservative, felt off with the play caller, felt out of rhythm with the receivers. A lot of issues there with the Packers. Hopefully he bounces back, though, in a big way. Then you have Justin Herbert, who I think is mostly here due to his talent. And this is where maybe you could argue that Herbert deserves to be a tier lower. I think some people just looking at talent and ability would have Justin Herbert in this tier, or maybe even a tier above Rodgers and Lamar based on his pocket presence, his pocket movement skills, his accuracy, his arm strength. He is phenomenal in all of those facets. From simply talent alone, Justin Herbert is one of the best pocket players in the NFL, period. But he has not proven it from a winning standpoint, from an accomplishment standpoint, even a statistical standpoint in some aspects. So Justin Herbert, you could argue maybe he's in tier 4 with a quarterback that seemingly has been put to the side way deeper down this list, Trevor Lawrence. I would put Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence maybe in the same tier because, they're both extremely talented, but they haven't really done a lot from a winning standpoint. They haven't really done a ton in terms of statistical accomplishment. Obviously, Herbert's had longer to prove it. And Herbert was great from the jump, which is the edge he has over Lawrence. But I think some would argue that they're fairly similar players. They're big guys that play in the pocket with great arm strength, good accuracy, movement skills, but that's not their bread and butter. So I see that as maybe tier number 4 if you want to argue that Rodgers and Jackson are more accomplished than a Justin Herbert. I could also see that argument as well, throwing that out there. But he has his tier number 4 as Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson, which is very strange. I understand that Russell Wilson was great before 2022, but he was awful in 2022. Like, he was one of the 5 worst quarterbacks in the NFL, in my opinion. Missed throws, holds on the ball way too long, didn't really have a good feel for the offense, just consistently didn't play on rhythm or on schedule, always trying to create backyard football and just not the same athlete he used to be. Just not a good quarterback to have in an offense that you want to run, right? Like, if you're an offensive coordinator, Russell Wilson's one of the worst quarterbacks you would possibly ever want because he doesn't stick to the plan. He doesn't play within structure at all at this point in his career. He's used to just doing whatever he wants, and he's not the physical talent he used to be. Deshaun Watson's sort of similar, but for different reasons. I think that he was aided by the receiving core that he had in Houston. He was also aided by Bill O'Brien's creativity of using him to his best strengths, right? But also a year out of football, just a lot for him to deal with last year. And then from a talent standpoint, he probably still has it, but we don't really know. I mean, I didn't really see the twitch and the quickness and the speed that he used to have in Houston in Cleveland. I still have yet to see that. The arm strength, I'm not quite sure it's the same. The accuracy, the rhythm, the feel is definitely missing from Deshaun's game. Maybe he can get that back this year. There's certainly an argument for that. But I can't see you ranking either of these guys over Jimmy Garoppolo right now. Like, yeah, maybe they have a higher ceiling, but the product is the product at the end of the day. And Jimmy Garoppolo, he's just, like, he does more. Like, he wins more. He's more productive. He's more efficient. Like, I get it. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's that guy that San Francisco has been trying to move on from, and all he does is win, but he doesn't win you the Super Bowl guy. He's a little bit Kirk Cousins-y. He's a little bit of a Jared Goff type, but Jimmy Garoppolo has a lot of things that you do like. Like, he's great from the pocket in terms of elite release. He's really tough. He seems to get a great response from his teammates. I mean, he's good a leader, like accurate player. He's a little limited, but the product speaks for itself. Did anyone think that Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson was better than Jimmy Garoppolo last year? Absolutely not, in my opinion. So I guess it depends on if you're just going for ceiling alone, sure. And then you get to tier number 6. I do agree with Garoppolo being in his own tier, though. I would just have this sorted out a little bit differently, as I've already suggested. Then you've got Kenny Pickett with Mac Jones, Tua, and Trevor Lawrence. As I've already said, from a talent standpoint, Trevor Lawrence deserves to be higher. I will say this, though, because there's a lot of people getting on Kyle for Trevor Lawrence's ranking. Trevor Lawrence was awful as a rookie, and then all of a sudden had a great year as a second-year pro. A lot of people just simply blame that on coaching. I want to flip that on you, though, and talk about Mac Jones, because it's basically the opposite. Mac Jones was great as a rookie, went to the playoffs, right? Went to the Pro Bowl as a rookie, and then has terrible coaching with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, and doesn't have a good year. And in many ways, it wasn't even as bad as Trevor Lawrence's rookie year. It was just such a step down from what we saw of him as a rookie. Now, I will say that Lawrence's numbers as a second-year pro were more impressive than Mac's as a first-year pro. Some of that is that more of the offense is put on the shoulders of Trevor Lawrence to throw the football more and put up more stats with Doug Peterson than Mac Jones in New England, where they're a little bit more balanced offensively from a schematic standpoint. But that is maybe where you get the bias of the first overall pick and the generational talent label, where Trevor Lawrence, was phenomenal in year 2 and a big step up. And I get it that Urban Meyer is a disaster, but so was Matt Patricia and so was Joe Judge in a disastrous way, just the same as Urban Meyer. So, to me, Mac Jones and Trevor Lawrence, that conversation seems to be a little off, in my opinion, at times. It's just the more recent thing that we've seen we're kind of gravitating towards in terms of both players. Because I think everyone after year 1 would have said Mac Jones was better than Trevor Lawrence. And now everyone unanimously is saying Trevor Lawrence is better than Mac Jones. So it's just funny to me. But then you look at Tua, and Tua, I think, deserves to be in the same class as Mac. And I think maybe you could even put both of these guys in the Jimmy Garoppolo tier if you really want. I feel like they're all proven to have some success in the NFL. Jimmy maybe is a little bit past that franchise quarterback peak where you're willing to commit to him long term. He's still good enough to win with, but he's not gonna be the guy. Obviously, he's accomplished more than Mac or Tua, but physically, both and all of these guys are accurate guys that are mostly winning from the pocket with short and intermediate passing game, and they win with their brains over their brawn. So I think you could argue that all three, Tua, Mac, and Jimmy, deserves to be in the same tier. I think Kenny Pickett deserves to be in the tier below. You know, Kenny Pickett did win some games last year and did show some good stuff, and I'm not taking anything away from Kenny Pickett as a rookie, but you look at his stats and he had more interceptions than touchdowns. I mean, this guy did not have a Mac Jones rookie year, and we're kind of treating him like he did, and we're treating him like he's the long-term solution for Pittsburgh. Maybe when his statistics and the evidence don't directly support that he is that guy just yet. So I would say Kenny Pickett is closer to CJ Stroud in terms of like, I feel strongly that they can be franchise quarterbacks, but they're not exactly all the way there yet. We need more information, even though CJ's never played a snap in the NFL. And then you've got Richardson and Will Levis, which, by the way, not having Ryan Tannehill on this tier list is probably the most annoying thing that I've seen on both of these lists. Like, Will Levis does not deserve to be here. He will not be the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. Ryan Tannehill is still a good quarterback, and I'd put Ryan Tannehill in the Jimmy Garoppolo, Mac Jones to a tier. Absolutely. Like, Ryan Tannehill is underrated for what he's been able to do with Tennessee. Last year, terrible receiving core, terrible offensive line. Like, I can excuse that. The system isn't even very good. He still doesn't have a lot of help there. Maybe he gets traded. That's what Kyle's thinking. Maybe. I don't know. But Tannehill, that's disrespectful to not have him on this tier list. But overall, man, I think his tiers are pretty accurate. I have some disagreements. I wanted to react to them and wanted to give you my opinion on Kyle Brandt's overall quarterback tiers for both conferences. Let me know your opinion in the comment section below. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.